And what is this one manga that's sweeping the entire nation? Well, that would be none other than Kagurabachi.
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 Anime.
Games.
Games.
Cyber Agent Studio.
Games. Picture.
This is gonna be fire.
The greatest anime adaptation.
The biggest IP.
And it will be incredible.
There's a problem with the upcoming Kagurabachi adaptation. Have you noticed that with every passing year, shonen adaptations become more and more scarce? Here, let me show you. My Hero Academia, announced at chapter 65. Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 85. Chainsaw Man, surprisingly 97, right at the end of its first full-length saga. Yet, when you look at the current Jump roster, Elusive Samurai, 101. Undead Unluck, 123. Blue Box, 125. Witch Watch, 166. Sakamoto Days, 167. There's no definitive answer for why things have turned out to be this way, but we can get some pretty big clues by taking a little lecture-informed deep dive into this cool little thing called anime production. I've compiled what I like to call the holy trifecta to all things anime production, proofread and sourced by an actual animation industry ball knower. However, if I do get some stuff wrong, I obsessively read every comment, positive and negative alike, so do leave one if the situation calls for it. All anime are built on business, animation, and scheduling. Beginning with the business side of things, we have what is called the production pipeline. This involves key ideas such as the planning phase, approval for licensing also known as green lighting, studio bidding wars, and investments from TV channels and editorial companies, all contributing to forward the eventual release of the anime. Regarding animation, you have roles like the animation producer and a director of their choosing, who then recruit designers, storyboarders, and a crew of animators. These can be sourced from social media, former connections, or even job applications. And scheduling ensures that all of the above occurs in a pre-arranged time frame with no delays, compromises, or ideally no shortcuts. Going through every one of these segments is where the complexity starts feeling like academic overkill. So just humor me with these basics in mind. The holy trifecta. Kagurabachi's business is booming, that much is certain. Sales on a constant uprise, 7 soon to be 8 volumes worth of catalog to print, and psst, this is a secret between me and you, okay? The series has already been greenlighted. Even the fated studio bidding wars have concluded, and the presumed winner, according to credible enough sources, happens to be Cyber Agent and Games Pictures. Very nice. But, and this might have sprouted in your mind already, every series I just listed had the same thing happen to them. Yet the release date in chapter count varied tremendously. Right now, Kagurabachi is already behind My Hero Academia, which, let's just face it, is a shock to nobody. MHA grappled onto the big superhero boom of 2015 with the outrageous success of the MCU and profited like crazy. By the looks of things, Kagurabachi will also lose to Jujutsu Kaisen and maybe Chainsaw Man, although that's a very big maybe considering the amount of chapters left to cover. Also worth mentioning that at its latest, the anime adaptation announcement will come during its 2nd year anniversary, because if it doesn't, like with all trends, eventual decline is bound to happen. That decline is ideally countered by the hype and sales that come from an anime announcement. Wait too long and the manga might have already ended. Think of Haikyuu, specifically the final arc's movie that came out 4 years after its conclusion in Weekly Shonen Jump, all due to that delay. Haikyuu is an undeniable global sensation, but one can only imagine how much wider it could have spread if announcements overlapped one another, keeping that monstrous momentum alive. So while I can see a looming problem for the Kagurabachi adaptation coming from its tardiness, that's hardly the only factor pointing to trouble on the horizon. A far bigger issue is the aesthetic. I love Chainsaw Man. In fact, one of my most cherished memories is binge reading all of part 1 in one sitting. Having not a single thing spoiled, getting to digest, experience, and witness all the craziness that makes up Tatsuki Fujimoto. And I adore the anime adaptation. This, however, is the minority opinion. Most avid of admirers would go on hour-long tirades about how they got the character designs all wrong, action completely fumbled, and the aesthetic just off. It goes without saying, but Kagurabachi runs the risk of facing these exact same problems. Set up in a similarly cinematic fashion, packed with Hollywood-inspired Easter eggs from Michael Bay explosions to Tarantino's Tokyo, Nolan's muted color palette, and Stahelski's action sequences, the list is endless. This is not me saying that Kagurabachi needs MAPPA to succeed. This is me saying that the anime needs cinematic directorial input. Without it, the whole thing crumbles. While this next one might not be seen as a universal problem, these are mostly just me problems anyway, voice actors, the crux of all things dialogue. I'm not familiar with the dubbing scene of the anime industry, but what I can say as someone who reads both the Japanese and English versions of the manga, the realm of words is intense. Most Japanese seiyuu take their job incredibly seriously, and rightfully so, wanting to deliver the best performance possible for scenes that fans have been waiting forever to see adapted. No matter how small a moment may seem, they're sure to give it their all. Born from that ruthless work ethic are industry giants like, pick this guy for any manly evil villain, Junichi Suwabe. God, I can't get enough of his voice, Kenjiro Tsuda. And the angry kid that always goes on tantrums, Yuki Kaji. Kagurabachi being popular opens up a window for any of these leading performers to take the front row and without a doubt bring their S game. But I don't want that. A new big booming series like this gives space for a rookie to arrive and totally dominate the field and become known for that specific role. While I currently feel that Shiba's voice actor Jun Fukushima is dear to me, he's also very replaceable as long as they come bearing a proper Kansai dialect. Shoya Ishige, however, is an unreplaceable gem. Being able to act out both the matured adult Chihiro and the heartbroken 15-year-old scenes, his range knows no bounds. A voiced character like Chihiro runs the risk of sounding either too edgy or too laid back, and he exists in the perfect middle road. I mean,
朝ごはんできたよ。背負う覚悟はあるよ。どれほど真剣に刀と向き合ってきたか。なんで俺がやらないと。尺も妖刀も一刻も早く見つけ出さないと。すぐ行きます。正気に見えてたのか。聞きたいことがある。お前らのようなクズが見過ごすわけにはいかない。炎天。
Beyond my hopes and dreams riding on the choice to cast this diamond jewel of an actor, here are some of my one can only hope fan casts, underrated ones at that.
聞きたいことがある。
まあ、その通り。
土産持ってきたで。
お取り込み中すみません。幼児たちが集まっているのだ。
きっと君の信頼を勝ち取ってみせるよ。
あれんじゃねえかって考えがよぎらねえんだ。
おい起きろや。てめえに指図される筋合いねえ。俺はそんなルールクソくらえって。
変わったんじゃねえ。
なんでさ、いいじゃんかよ。
機嫌は戻ったようだけど。
私に報告か？
俺の未来も見えるんだっけ？
ここに何の用だ？
共有財産じゃないか。
我は天の災い。
この近所の学生と言ったら。
さてと、俺を知ってるって顔だな。
友達だと思われたら迷惑だろ。お前の断末魔はうるさそうだ。
本当におかしくなっちまったのか。人生はナクリウムのためにあった。
本当に大悪党だったんだ。
命のやり取りをしよう。
俺は塔付きで頂点を取るつもりなんだ。
妖術を見たことは？
私が怖いか？
どうしようじゃなくてさ。
全力で遂行する。
生き様に一貫性なんて必要ない。
さえずるなよ、ゴミが。
剣を交えてお前の心が。
指導を踏まえて明日に実施。
戦闘態勢に入る。 大それた真似はできません。
邪魔されないようにお前たちを利用した。
ルールばっかり守ってたら守れないものもあるかもよ。
Yet I hold my biggest fear of them all in this one specific, constantly talked about piece to the puzzle when it comes to adapting material. I'm of course talking about the pacing. Take a look at this.
ごめん、あまない。俺は今、お前のために怒ってない。誰も憎んじゃいない。今はただただ、この世界が心地いい。
Both scenes are beautiful, but in different ways. The raw, expressive emotion of the manga permeates the pages, his expression full of tension and release. It's visceral. Yet the anime makes it a spectacle. A piano solo, a sky painted in golden hues, and a simultaneous feeling of ecstasy, relief, and ascension, all in one package. Every time I watch this scene, I can't shake the feeling that the manga panel was done dirty. One of Gege's most iconic moments reframed with a completely different angle, a completely different expression, and worst of all, completely different character art. Given the striking cinematography of Kagurabachi and the amount of iconic, heart-stopping, jaw-dropping, gut-wrenching, and thought-provoking scenes, it's essential that those panels are treated with the respect they deserve. And even in a perfect world where all of that comes to be realized, it'll more than likely be ruined by its pacing. If the anime takes the 12-episode route, we'd likely get both the Soujo and the Rakuzaichi arc, looking to finish somewhere near chapter 44, 45, or maybe even 46 if we're lucky. That's great, that's fantastic, I'll be seated. But if it ends up being 24 episodes, now we're talking chapters in the 80s, maybe even the 90s. Also great, also fantastic. But after the premiere, each episode, regardless of the total count, will likely adapt around 2 to 4 chapters, sometimes more. That's pretty much the standard for a typical weekly Shonen Jump adaptation. Which brings us to a problem. This scene, 3 seconds. That scene, 5 seconds. This scene, no more than 10 seconds. Chihiro's fresh hatred?
Well, it'll naturally get more screen time since Sparta of the first chapter. Most anime, especially shonen series, only adapt the first chapter.
You get the point, right? Your favorite scene will pass by in an instant. Remind yourself of the first time you read a chapter that just amazed you. That wow moment probably came from a singular page, whether that's a cool art piece, an insane plot development, or something really emotional and touching. It all hits you at once. But it also doesn't move unless you do. In manga reading, you are the maker of your own experience. It sounds crazy to say, but the anime needs to move. But with the manga, you can slow down, soak in the page layouts, study the paneling, admire the art, the character designs. Every detail enriches the experience. And yeah, sure, you can pause the episode. Of course you can. But it's just not the same, and you know that. Now, the title of this video might be something like The Problem with the Upcoming Kagurabachi Adaptation. Yet, despite how that may come off, I'm not here to be negative. I actually have a lot of faith in this adaptation. The studio, the team behind it, the sheer vision that I don't even know of. Still, there's one core sentiment I want to leave you with, and you've probably guessed it by now. Treat the anime and manga as two separate entities. I know, wild, right? It's called an adaptation for a reason. You expect it to adapt the material, and adapt it will. But this will be my most audacious claim yet, but whatever comes out of that studio, and whatever it is that we will experience on our screens, to a lot of people, that will be the pinnacle of their Kagurabachi experience. At the end of the day, the original purpose of an anime adaptation is to bring attention to the source material and drive home engagement. If the anime can elevate scenes that the manga wasn't able to, and in doing so pushes the viewer to pick up a volume or two, then honestly, it doesn't matter what my personal grievances or gripes are. That's an adaptation done right. And if, by some miracle, the sky falls, hell freezes over, and I end up enjoying the anime more than the original, well, you best believe I'll be the first one to admit that I was wrong. So now, all that's left to do is wait and see.